Have you ever wondered what clairvoyance really is? Like, where does it come from and how can we develop it? In this video, we're going to dive deep into the subject. Since I began practicing channeling 38 years ago, I've heard a lot of nonsense about psychic abilities, so I want to clear things up for you. First, let's get clear on one thing. Psychic abilities are simply a heightened awareness of our connection with all things. It's not woo-woo or mysterious at all. It's not some rare and special gift only for a chosen few. No, you were born psychic. You are also a medium for those you love in spirit. Everyone is, simply by virtue of being a soul. You have forgotten who you are, and it's time to remember. Consciousness exists and interacts at different vibrational frequencies that we can tap into when we learn to perceive beyond the limited scope of physical reality. Maybe you've heard of the higher mind that contributes to our psychic development. The higher mind is described as possessing a far-seeing point of view, capable of discerning all of our potential life paths in every moment. That is why it is the source of our intuition. In every moment, our higher mind is doing its best to guide us to the path of least resistance for our highest good. It does this by communicating with our physical mind through energy messages that we experience as feelings of passion, excitement, curiosity, and inspiration. The higher mind also governs clairvoyance and is connected to our imagination. So let's dispel the myth that imagination is just a fantasy. No. Imagination is the main conduit, or pipeline, through which the higher mind transmits its higher dimensional guidance and wisdom. Imagination is the seed of our clairvoyance. It's our superpower. Now let's talk about another key component of clairvoyance, the pineal gland. The pineal gland is the physical mechanism for psychic perception and regulates our psychic abilities. Psychic abilities are not supernatural phenomena, but a heightened awareness of our interconnectedness with everything and everyone in this world and the next. The pineal gland is the physical mechanism for our psychic senses, regulating DMT to determine the degree of focus in physical or non-physical reality that is appropriate for us in each moment. It acts as a gateway between these realities, working with DMT, melatonin, and serotonin to access higher dimensional information. Although all of this is natural, some people face obstacles in activating the third eye and developing their psychic abilities. Limiting belief systems and emotional blocks such as guilt filter higher dimensional information and hinder perception. Fear-based beliefs are the biggest obstacle, often causing individuals to shut down their connection to their higher consciousness. Spiritual bypassing, which can be defined as pretending everything is fine when it isn't, like painting a smile on your face when you feel sad, avoids confronting challenges. This is an impediment to spiritual growth. Overcoming obstacles is part of the reason we are here. It involves clearing limiting belief systems and releasing emotional blocks such as guilt. Transforming fear requires facing challenges that will then lead us to reconnect with a higher vibrational state. Maintaining a positive state, trusting in the information received, and cultivating awareness of ego traps are crucial. True spiritual development means confronting and transforming challenges rather than avoiding them. Next up, I have created an explainer video that will give you a bit more insight into clairvoyance, and if you are ready to unleash your clairvoyance, join us for our upcoming Awakening Clairvoyance workshop, or join our Be Your Own Medium program to gain access to this as well as other workshops. The link is in the description. Join us by midnight the 3rd of September and take $40 off the already discounted price.
Hey there, and welcome. Let's dive into something really cool today. What if being psychic isn't some strange supernatural power for a chosen few? What if it's actually a natural part of being human, something built right into the physics of our consciousness? We're going to unpack exactly how that could be possible. I mean, think about it. Have you ever had one of those moments? A really strong gut feeling you just couldn't ignore, and boom, it turned out to be spot on? Or maybe a sudden idea, a flash of knowing that just pops into your head from, well, from where exactly? Turns out these moments are way more common than you might think, and they're the key to everything we're talking about. So here's the big idea, the main takeaway right at the start. It's all about a simple shift in how we look at this. We're not talking supernatural, like something out of a movie. Think of it more as supernatural, a heightened, more powerful version of the awareness we already have, something that's built in, not bolted on.
All right, so to really get this, we've got to start with the big stuff. We have to look at how this whole framework views reality itself. And that journey, well, it kicks off with consciousness.
Okay, so picture a radio. You've got all these different stations, rock, pop, news, classical, all broadcasting at the same time, right? But you only hear the one station your radio's actually tuned to. Well, the idea here is that consciousness works in pretty much the same way. Our everyday physical reality, that's just one frequency, one station. So-called psychic ability is just learning how to turn the dial and tune into all the other stations that are also playing.
And here's where it gets really personal, for you, for me, for everyone. Each of us has our own unique signature vibration. It's like our own personal frequency, our home base. And that's the starting line. It's the foundation we build everything else on when we start to expand our awareness.
Okay, so if we're this radio, able to tune into different frequencies, how do we know which station to tune into? I mean, where's the guide? And that leads us to this really cool concept of our built-in GPS, our own internal guidance system. It's called the higher mind.
So this way of thinking splits our mind into two parts. You've got the physical mind, that's the one you're using right now to analyze this, the one that makes your grocery lists and worries about paying bills. It's all about logic and day-to-day survival. But then there's the higher mind, and this is completely different. The best way to think about it is like a satellite orbiting high above you. It's not physical, and it has this incredible bird's eye view of your entire life, seeing all the different roads you could possibly take.
But how does that satellite view, that big picture perspective, actually get down to us here on the ground? Well, this process is absolutely crucial. The higher mind sees the best path forward for you, and it sends down these little, let's call them energy messages. Now, your imagination, it's not just for making stuff up. It's the receiver. It's the antenna that catches these signals. And how do we experience them? As that sudden rush of passion, that unshakable excitement about an idea. That's your inner compass pointing the way.
I know. This might be sounding a little out there, a little abstract. But what's really fascinating is that this framework points to a real, physical part of our body that acts as the hardware for all of this.
Let's talk about the pineal gland. For a long time, science kind of called it the mystery gland. But in this view, it's anything but. It's our biological antenna. It's the physical gateway, the bridge that lets us tap into information beyond what we can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell.
So how is this supposed to work? Well, a couple of things. For one, it helps regulate some really important neurochemicals like DMT, which you often hear about in connection with altered states of consciousness. It also fires up every single time you dream, which kind of makes sense, right? It could explain why our dreams can sometimes feel so real and full of meaning. But here's the most important part. Its function isn't set in stone. It's directly affected by what you believe. And you can actually activate it by consciously raising your own vibrational frequency.
This leads to a pretty obvious question, right? If we've all got this amazing hardware built in, why aren't we all walking around getting crystal clear psychic messages 24/7? Well, the answer is the same reason you can't always hear your favorite radio station: static, interference. So let's take a look at what's causing all that noise.
Yeah, see, most of that static, it's coming from inside us. Things like fear-based beliefs, they act like a filter, only letting in information that confirms our fears. Then you've got emotional blocks, like old guilt or anger, that just weigh down our frequency and make it really hard to tune into anything higher. And there's this other big one called spiritual bypassing. That's when people try to use spiritual ideas to just avoid the real-life problem.
But let's be super clear. The number one signal jammer, the biggest block of them all, is fear. In this view, fear is basically a false alarm. It's a belief in a negative outcome that isn't actually in tune with who you really are. And when we're in that state of fear, what do? We tense up, we contract, and we basically hang up the phone on our higher mind.
And this is so important. True spiritual growth isn't about ignoring your problems or pretending they don't exist. It's actually the complete opposite. It's about facing your challenges head on, because that's how you clear the static. Working through the hard stuff is what actually makes that connection to your higher self stronger and clearer.
All right, so let's say you start doing the work. You're clearing out those blocks, you're raising your frequency. What's the result? What does that actually look like in your everyday life? The payoff is this amazing state of flow, this feeling of being guided, and it's called synchronicity.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Those weirdly perfect moments. You're thinking about someone you haven't seen in years and your phone rings and it's them. Or you're wrestling with a problem and a book literally falls off a shelf and opens to the exact page you needed to see. According to this, those aren't just random coincidences. That's synchronicity. It's the universe winking at you, giving you feedback that you're on the right track. It's your higher mind leaving you breadcrumbs in the real world.
And the cool thing is, you can actually create more of this in your life. It's not passive. How do you do it? Well, you start by doing your best to stay on a positive, high vibration state. Then, when that passion or excitement hits, that message from your higher mind, you act on it. You follow that energy. And finally, you just have to trust the process. Trust that you're being guided, even when you have no idea where the path is leading.
And that brings us right back to the beginning. This whole system, the vibrational frequencies, the pineal gland, the synchronicities, it's not presented as magic or wishful thinking. It's framed as consciousness physics. It's just the nuts and bolts of how consciousness operates, a set of natural laws that we can all learn to understand and work with.
So, let's just leave it with this one final thought to chew on. If it's true, if your entire perception of reality really is just based on the frequency you're tuned into, then it's a pretty powerful question to ask yourself, isn't it? What station are you listening to right now? And what other incredible things might you experience if you just reached out and turned the dial?